Hey friends, welcome back to So Supportive. Grab your project, your coffee, your comfy clothes, your fuzzy socks, whatever you need to get cozy because today we are finally making some Christmas stocking progress. The last 2 weeks have been a whole thing between juggling Thanksgiving prep, extra work hours, and trying to decide if I should spend my remaining spoon sewing or just lying face down on the floor. Spoiler alert, sewing definitely took a backseat. But I did manage to squeeze in some super cute progress, and I can't wait to show you. So let's piece some squares, quilt a panel, and cut out this stocking together. And at the end, I'll fill out my new UFO tracker page so we can celebrate that this project is officially moving forward. All right, let's sew. Here I am sewing together the squares to create a patchwork panel for my next stocking. What I did was I used the AccuQuilt Christmas stocking panel die itself to lay out fabrics and find a pleasing arrangement of color disbursement throughout the panel that I want to create. And then I basically use the die itself as my design board to bring the squares over to my sewing machine and sew them together. I would connect units into pairs of 2, and then from there connect 4 or 5, depending upon the row and how big I needed it to be. Ultimately, as I laid them out, I realized that the seam allowance sucked up quite a bit, and so I had to go back and add additional squares onto certain rows. But the nice thing was that I could see it all right there in front of me. And what I would do is I had my ironing station right next to me. So I would sew 4 units together or 4 blocks, squares together, and then I would press the seams to one side. And I ultimately alternated rows to ensure that the seams would nest together as best I could. This worked out really well. I was having lots of fun sewing in my pajamas that day and just having a nice relaxing day to recover after the huge Thanksgiving meal that I had made last week. I kept everything handy so that I had my snips to snip apart the units, and then really tried my best to keep everything in order so that I would maintain the disbursement of fabric choices throughout the patchwork panel that I was creating. Okay, so this is a different day, and I have my little friend Willoughby watching what I'm doing. He's very intrigued with my setup. Can't you tell? I've got my patchwork panel laid out on a piece of batting, and I have my bat scooters, and I'm ready to do a simple loop-to-loop quilting design that is probably my easiest one, where I know it's usually the one that I go to when I want to relax and into free motion quilting and get the hang of things. Now, this is quite honestly the first time that I am sitting down at my sewing machine and doing any free motion, so you'll see me stopping in different places and touching the screen to get the settings correct. There were a few places where the 4 seams would come together at a corner, and I had the presser foot up just a little bit too low or too close to the fabric, so I was getting snagged a few times. But ultimately, I think it came out super cute. I'm not going to stress about this, especially because this is just a project that is out for a few days for the year, and quite honestly, my kids will love it anyway. Only I will notice any little hiccups or discrepancies in the stitch length in different areas or the imperfect loops. Really, they're just going to want what's inside the stocking, right? That's ultimately what's the best part about this. So, like I said, I use my bat scooters to hold. Sometimes if I'm having a bad hand day, I will also add my machine gir's gloves with the bat scooters, and that really helps me grip things better. But this day, my hands weren't hurting too badly, so I felt pretty confident in just using the bat scooters alone. And you can see that I'm having loads of fun just doing little loops and meanders and enjoying the process of free motion quilting this adorable panel. Oh, and there goes Willoughby. Of course, he's got to play. He really enjoys grabbing the fabric no matter what I'm doing. So as I'm cutting fabric and stacking up the little squares, he was grabbing it. He was grabbing the fabric as I was trying to decide which ones I was going to use. Yeah, he's a big helper, isn't he? He's so silly. Here I am getting ready to cut out the stocking on the die. I'm making sure that everything covers the area where the die is, and I'm also trimming the excess batting because it could snag and pull the patchwork panel out of alignment on the die itself as it's going through the die machine. So here I am double checking again to make sure that everything's lined up properly and that the areas where I've got extra squares is exactly where I need it to be. I'm putting on the essentially a cutting mat to go through the die, and then I realized that I probably need to cut off this excess batting over here as well. Boy, do I have Christmas fabric everywhere or what? It's all over the right side there, and then also I have some extra fabric on my left near my little pink toolbox that I was trying to keep separate for using later. Okay, here we go. Hold your breath. Put your tongue in just the right spot as we go through. And then I go, oh no, I have a little extra over here. Is it going to go through? It'll be fine. The amazing thing that I've noticed with this die in particular is because I think of the curves, that sometimes it cuts the fabric but not the thread, which is interesting. Okay, the moment of truth is almost here. Give it a little rub to get rid of the static electricity, and then start to pull. There's one spot over here where it didn't cut, but I'll get back to that in a moment. The rest cut completely cleanly. One little thread here that I need to snip, and then that little section on the curve of the heel that just got caught. Ooh, but it looks so cute. I love it. I love it. Adorable. Might need to make more of those. Okay, so here is what I put together for my UFO tracker. And I am going to fill it out for the Christmas stockings that I'm doing, since this is now currently unfinished. I know that I need 9, and I've currently got 4 partially done. And part of my hang up is that I want to have the designs for the front of each stocking done before I complete the cuffs and embroider them, since I'm not sure whose stocking is whose yet. And I'm also considering not embroidering their names on the cuff itself and instead making little tags with their names on it so that we can swap them around each year, perhaps. And that's all in case maybe everyone doesn't absolutely have to have a particular design, and then we can change it up each year. So part of this, I had started with the Benartex Christmas line. However, I decided I didn't want it all to be aqua and red and pink. I wanted some traditional Christmas colors. Plus, I had these really adorable Christmas fabrics that I just have scraps of. One was this one, it's a vintage Christmassy collection. I had the header, I believe this was a Maywood. It was either a Maywood or a Kaufman collection because those were the two companies that used to send me headers. Then I also had this adorable collection that I don't remember where I bought it. I believe I bought it at a show, maybe festival, quilt festival in Houston, but I just loved this vintage design. So I wanted to incorporate that into the design. So what I've done so far is I've chopped these into 2.5-inch squares along with some other colors that coordinated. And I started to piece those together to make this first stocking, and I think it came out pretty cute. It was really like the fastest job in the world, and I literally did it with batting on the background, which probably was a mistake since I've not really done free motion on my machine yet, but I think it came out fine. And certainly for something that's only up for a few days out of the year, it's fine. So, and I'm sure I'll get better as I go along, and perhaps on the next one I'll actually put a backing on it so I don't have to worry. So I'm just going to put some Maywood Christmas down as well. So this, what I've done with this list, and this is available for anyone who's in my Patreon who is on the B level and above. And what I've done here is I've tracked out what I think are all the things that I would need to know as I'm working on a project and put it down, but allowing all of the people in my Patreon to also try this out to see if there's anything I've left off. But what I really like is that I can write down here what my plans were for the project and where I left off. And there's a nice big section down at the bottom where I can put notes so that I will know that I've done, if it's a quilt, I've done 8 blocks and I've cut out the pieces for something, or perhaps I've realized there's a mistake in the math and I could put down a note saying that I've paused because the rectangles are the wrong size, they need to be adjusted, blah, blah, blah. But then I've also just put down here all the parts of quilting, including making a test block, because I don't know if you've done this, but I certainly have cut out fabric and then realized that something was wrong in the instructions and that I cut out 56 squares and they're all slightly off. So those were just some things that I thought of that were helpful. So far, I'm going to put down here that I've got 4 of the fronts are done and 2 of the backs are done. I also might do 2 in the hoop that from a pickle pie design. So I'll probably show that next week. And it does not look like it's as shocking. Pack's done. I'll just put quilted and cut, quilted and cut out. So that's good. All right, so we're making some progress. I'm really going to have to step it up though and start really working now that Thanksgiving is behind me and all of the Black Friday prep for the company that I work for is over with. I will have a little more time in my schedule. But if you're interested in having a copy of this UFO tracker, let me know. Leave a comment below so that I can decide if it is ready to make it available to everyone or if it still needs a little tweaking. And if you see something here that you would change, also leave me a comment below. I would love to know what you think and what you need to keep track of in your UFOs.